All right, so I am now with Graeme Wilson. I just had cold brew, so I'm going to speak really fast.
Awesome.
But it was really good. I need another. This is, I think, my fourth interview. I think I've had interviews with Jordan, Carly, Noah, another pastor. So I think you're the fifth one.
Nice.
And so again, the purposes of these interviews are to pull back the curtain, allow people kind of into our world. What are we learning? What are we seeing? How does this pandemic impact us on a personal level in our ministries, things of that nature? And so Graeme Wilson oversees, for Wellspring, oversees a lot of our marketing, a lot of our media. And so the nature of the pandemic is you went from a pretty strenuous part-time job to a very intense part-time job. And because the church moved into your world, like you were a nice add-on to our world. And then the church just moved right into your area. So, and you also do this for a nonprofit. So the pandemic, I imagine, has been nothing short of just, what's the right word? Like intense. I mean, intense. And so in the church world, you like others in other industries are on the front lines of this whole pandemic. In the digital age for the church world, you're on the front lines for us. So all of that being said, you're a human being. COVID hits every human being in various different ways. After describing how intense this is for you personally, for a job, that's my first question. How are you doing? What is God teaching you personally, Graeme Wilson, COVID-19?
Yeah, it's been certainly interesting. I think one of the interesting things, one being in church leadership and getting to connect with so many different people, is really everyone's story is differently. Yes, this is affecting everyone, but it's affecting everyone differently. So for me, I'm a guy of habit. I'm a creature of habit. Habits, nice, powerful habits make me better. So one of the things
Atomic Habits.
Right. Yeah. Great book. So in the beginning, I really wrestled, and we've had many conversations about, our whole lives were turned upside down, and many of the habits that we had in place no longer were able to happen, or they look super different. So it took me, like probably most people watching this, a little bit to kind of redefine, how am I taking care of my physical health? How am I taking care of my spiritual health? And some of those things still to this day, I don't really have clear answers for. Like, one of the things I just bought is this like bow and arrow weightlifting thing that you can do at home, so I can try and keep, exercising. And, but, as far as my spiritual walk, it definitely, one of the things I said is, in this season of the last several weeks, I think I've been more reliant on God than ever before. And really the honest answer with that is, like, when we're in the valleys of life, we tend to be more reliant on God. So one of the things I've really wrestled with is, like, why then do I ever pray to be on the mountaintop? If in the valleys of life, that is when I'm reliant on God the most, that's when I'm dependent on God the most, that's when I can hear his voice more, then why would I always work so hard to pray away the hard times of life? And that's been something that I've been wrestling with, and just kind of God's been using in my life. And that's not an easy thing to pray about. That's not an easy thing to kind of wrestle through. So that's, I think, have been a lesson for me of, don't be so quick to pray away hardship. And so, life has been hard. Life has been crazy. But on the flip end, I have been deeper into my faith than I think I have been in a long time. I've seen others dive deeper into their faith. I've gotten phone calls from people saying, hey, I'm finally wrestling with this. Yeah. I'm ready to do some hard work. And so on the flip end, as hard as it's been, there's been so many encouraging things that I've seen happen in myself and others that, I don't know what God's doing. But God's doing something.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. There's the way you worded the stuff about habits hit me, and this is something I've wrestled with. Is and you made a connection for me. Is I at times almost put my identity into the habits versus my habits flowing from my identity.
Right.
And so the nature of COVID in blowing up all of my habits, that's probably what caused me personally to struggle that first week. Was it tarnished my identity, even though technically it didn't. It felt like it tarnished my identity.
Yeah.
Ergo, my habits then weren't healthy.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think going to that point too of like, I think we're all struggling with identity issues, right? For some of us, our identity was in work. Well, for some of us, our work life got blown up. Like, I'm no longer working the same way I used to. Who actually am I? For some of us, it was our habits. For some of us, it was the gym. You know, I work out every day, and now I can't do that. So who am I? What am I supposed to do? So I think for a lot of us on different levels and different areas of our life, it's been asking that question of who am I? What am I supposed to be doing when I'm just at home? Yeah. Which has been a position for the church and leadership to kind of speak into that issue of like, yeah, our identity all along was never supposed to be in those things. Mm-hmm. Those things are all good things, but they're supposed to flow out of our identity in Jesus. Mm-hmm. So I think there's been that growth and tension and trying to figure all that out over the last couple of weeks.
Yeah. Well, another element that you're trying to figure out is church online. Yeah. And by church online, it's not just an experience on a Sunday morning being posted online. Church online is the church has moved online. Mm-hmm. Not entirely, but even a lot of like our CKAs, like I'm buying gift cards for people. I'm going online to ShopRite, buying a gift card, sending it to them. Like, we're funneling everything through some sort of an online thing, platform. So how have you led the charge? How have you learned to lead the charge for the mission of the church in this new platform, or in this increased platform?
I think one of the encouraging things for me is this wasn't a Wellspring problem. Yeah. This is a world problem. So whether you're ShopRite, Walmart, Wellspring, or the Red Cross, we're all dealing with this problem. So as far as like feeling the weight of it, we're all in this together. And so, some of the encouraging things for me has also been all churches are doing this. So there's tons of resources and just, watching, hey, that church is kind of utilizing that. Okay, that's cool. And again, Big C Church kind of all coming together and being a resource. So that's been just encouraging to me in terms of like, man, I'm not alone, and we're not alone. We're all in this together. And yeah, I'm thankful that kind of Wellspring has always, by and large, been a digital first church. From the beginning, we've always thought, the power and what God can do through using social media, what the power and what God can do through, having a web presence, having, our church experience online. So the pivot wasn't as hard for us, I think, as maybe some others have been dealing with, but it's still been hard because, like you said, not only just the weekend experience, but how we're going to do life groups, and having to pivot to, hey, we got to figure out a Zoom account to get our life groups online so people can still build connections. Like you brought up CKAs, like how do we do CKAs in a digital only environment? Mm-hmm. So it's been tough. It's been stressful. There's definitely been moments of pulling hair out. But what's also been exciting is, this really has forced me to invite more people into the process. Yeah. We now have, on Tuesday night, we have a group of about 8 or 9 people that come together and are now thinking big picture about how we can do social media better and how we can bring in different voices. And so that's been really encouraging. And then zooming out even more, I think as hard as it's all been, what kind of keeps me motivated is watching what God's doing and how God's using all of this. I posted, it wasn't my quote, I forget the pastor's name who said it, but that the world is in crisis, but the church is in revival. And I 100% feel that because, and we're experiencing this, our weekend experiences are reaching so many more people with the gospel. We're still seeing people get saved. Lee Strobel posted that, on Easter Sunday, they had like over 5,000 people get saved. Like that would have never happened on a normal Easter on-site environment. And so as hard as it's been, watching what God's doing is kind of tempering the, like, this is worth it. Like the labor is not in vain, that going digital, it's tough. We're still trying to solve the problems of like, what does relationship building look like on a digital platform? But it's putting me in a position where I'm willing to answer those, like I'm willing to work to answer those questions.
So and I know like you're a processor, this is like not a question I asked you ahead of time, but I know it's a question you've thought about, and it's a natural follow-up question. So where have you seen methods change, but the mission stay the same? And I'm going to say specific to Wellspring, like peeling back the curtain, where has the method changed, but the mission stayed the same?
Methods change. I think what I've loved watching is, and you interviewed Jordan a few weeks ago, what Jordan's doing in Well Youth, right? The method was, we get together on Tuesday nights, we play some games, we have a message, and the kids go home. And obviously that whole system had to get blown up. And so Jordan and his team had to say, hey, if we stay with the method, we don't do youth anymore. But the mission is more important than the method. So we have to blow up the method. We have to, do small groups on Zoom. We have to do CKAs different. We're going to do drive-bys of kids, on their birthday. We're going to have to do things different. We have to do methods differently to keep doing the mission. And, even with CKAs, a lot of our CKAs happened in person, because a value of us is uncommon relationships, and we want to be doing that in person. But we could have said, because we can't do it in person, because that's optimal for relationship building, we're just going to put a pause on CKAs for right now. Okay? When things get back to normal, we'll start loving the community again. That is not our mission. That was a method. So we just, we had to pivot. We have things happening through the well. We're buying dinners with cupones and having people call instead of going in person. So we're having on all fronts of us look at, hey, what is really important? What's really important is that we exist to ignite a craving for Jesus by relentlessly loving our community. And that doesn't happen in the building. That doesn't happen only in person. And I think it's forced us to really look hard at what really matters and on all aspects of our life. So when you say what methods have changed, really all methods have changed. There's not really a system right now at church that looks the same way it did 8 weeks ago.
Yeah. And I like how you said it, because the way I want to love people is I kind of want to go to Capone's. I want to buy that meal. I want to hand them that meal.
Yeah.
The way I, selfish perspective, want to love people is not really conducive to this current environment.
Right.
But the need for love is still there. So I've been forced to say it's not about me.
Right. Yeah.
It's still about loving people. So just go and do it. All right. So you're gracious enough to give us a lunch break right now to even interview you. This is taking a lunch break from your full-time job to do this. It's a full-time job that obviously you respect because you're working there. We as a church support America's Keswick because we deeply support, love them, respect them. It's a ministry geared towards helping men and women through recovery from drugs and alcohol and addiction, and then a conference center and it's a it's a multifaceted organization led by somebody you and I both deeply respect. Bill Welty is a unique leader, and he's perfect for Keswick. Like God has uniquely designed him for Keswick. And so, first off, how are things going for Keswick? You guys, a lot of your supporters are, let's say, over 60 years old. And so moving to the digital world right away seems like, how are you guys going to survive?
Yeah.
You do hymn sings.
Right.
You do other, like, so how's it going for you guys as an organization at America's Keswick?
Again, the same way. And this is what, man, it's, God is just doing amazing things. Like our addiction recovery center is still operation. Currently, we're not taking new intakes, but the Colony of Mercy, which is for the guys, has tons of guys in it. Barbara's Place has tons of women in it. And as far as that ministry, like, stuff's still happening. God's still moving. These men are still getting counseling. They're still, learning that Jesus Christ is the answer to their addiction. So that side of the ministry is still thriving and flourishing. The big question mark was on the other side of the ministry. A lot of what we do, 90% of what we do is on site. Well, within a 24-hour period, the light switch got turned off.
Yeah, and literally, yeah.
And so as a ministry and going into, you bringing up Bill Welty, it was the moment of, we have a choice. We have a choice to say, do we turn the light switch off and we all go home? Or do we turn the light switch off and we do whatever we can to love on our partners, to love on our people, to just be aggressive and talk, to your point, the mission that we have? Do we say the method is actually the more important thing, or do we say the mission is the more important thing? So I've been really thankful to watch Bill in this season of there's two things. One, not willing to forego the mission for the sake of the method. I think, you and I have both seen organizations not do that. And what breaks my heart is we've seen it at Wellspring. We're seeing it here. Like, we did our community hymn sing. People are still getting saved. People are still getting the gospel. So if we made the decision to say, hey, the hymn sing can only take place in person, who knows what those lives would have experienced? So that's been really exciting to watch and watch Bill say, hey, I care less about the method and I care about the mission. And as a leadership team, what can we do to pivot and say, hey, we're just going to put everything online and we're still going to work. We're still going to hustle. We're still going to do everything we can for the sake of the mission. The second thing, and one of the biggest leadership lessons I think I've learned from him and I've been watching him, is transparency. There's a tendency in leadership to say, hey, this piece of information is really tough for people to understand. Maybe I won't share it. Maybe I won't share the true financial needs. Maybe I won't share what's going on behind the scenes. Maybe the struggles, the behind the curtain. And Bill has always just had this layer of integrity that I think can be rare in leadership of, no, we're going to tell our partners where we're at. We're going to tell them, everything so they know, and that so they can pray for us. They can, help, if God's blessed them, help us financially, all those things. And it's something that whether, and I get to see him in his personal life, that is an aspect of him that carries through in every aspect of his life of, we're not going to hide the dirt. We're going to live with integrity. We're going to be transparent about our finances. We're going to be transparent. And that's just been exciting to watch and exciting to observe. And I think that's why one of the main reasons God is blessing right now. God has blessed Keswick financially. And that's because I think Bill's been really honest, and our partners and friends and donors have said, hey, thank you for being honest with us. Thank you that you're continuing the mission. Thank you that the mission is more important than the method. And, God has been blessing through that. And so I think those two things of leaning into a problem instead of avoiding a problem and just being transparent, I think are two main things that it's been exciting to watch here.
Yeah. Well, and that is a natural, healthy marriage of integrity. Integrity fuels true transparency. There are organizations that come across as transparent, but they turn out to be the Enrons of the world. Right. Liars, manipulators, like what they're being transparent with isn't really reality.
Right.
And true integrity says, I can be transparent about anything because there is truly nothing to hide.
Right.
And so here is a clear picture of reality and how we're handling it. And so, and you guys crush it with communications, whether it's the written, whether the letters or online. I've seen you guys do more with podcasts. It's been really cool. And I've also seen through America's Keswick, and I'm seeing this too with Wellspring, is now there's more faces online.
Yeah.
I've seen some other people interviewing, people in the colony and whatnot. So it's not one face too, which Bill Welty, I think that flows from him. It's not Bill Welty's name and face.
Right.
It's multiple people in the organization. So the last question, I didn't say this to you beforehand, so this isn't premeditated, I guess. But because you work for a nonprofit, I think it's good to plug that. And it's obviously a nonprofit that we support, so it's an easy plug for us. It's americaskeswick.org.
Yeah.
Is that the website? Yeah.
So our website's americaskeswick.org. And then if someone is struggling, whether that be a man or woman, it's addictionrecovery.org. You can go there and learn more information about the University, about Barber's Place. Because one of the things we've experienced too is because people are more in isolation, because there's a lesser end of accountability in people's lives, people are struggling.
Yeah.
And so there is a need for ministries like Keswick to keep going. You can't stop. So again, if you're struggling right now, you need someone to talk to, someone to help. Yeah, just visit addictionrecovery.org, and there's information about our addiction recovery ministries.
Okay. And americaskeswick.org is where if people wanted to make a donation to help support the ministry. Good. What's the thing you guys posted yesterday? I know we talked about it briefly, but it was a roundtable or something to help people with opioid usage. What was it like? Yeah.
So again, our recovery team put together a kind of a ministry workshop of what is the truth behind opioids. As a leader, how can you help people? If we had moms and dads watching saying, "Hey, my son or daughter is in the grips of this. I don't know what to do." So it was a free seminar we did on Facebook and YouTube and all those things to just kind of give some help and give some tips and tricks from what we've experienced and how you can help people.
Awesome. And unfortunately, given society, especially right now, that's unfortunately probably a growing need.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, last question for you, and you've kind of already set this up, so it might just be repeating something. Is what are you personally learning in the context of leadership? What is the biggest leadership lesson Graeme Wilson has learned or is learning through this?
That leadership is made in crisis. It is very easy to be a leader when everything is going well. But when things get tough, when hard decisions need to be made, when maybe you need to go outside of your box, when you need to start asking the harder questions of, hey, I've always liked doing it this way, but we might need to change it, that's when leadership is made. And I think for me, it's that this is the time that as leaders, we can't run and hide, that we have to stand up and say, what's really important? And I think because when times are going well, I think we ask those questions less and less, because, the money's good, the people are good, the systems are good. And we just kind of sometimes rest on our laurels. And I think for me, it's been very observant of watching other leaders leaning into the crisis and saying, no, we still have to ask these hard questions. And then the other thing is being okay to say, I don't know, with your people, that you don't always have to be the smartest person in the room as a leader, and to kind of put your pride aside and say, no one's dealt with this crisis before. No one is a COVID-19 professional. No one has the workbook on here are the 5 easy steps to be successful in COVID-19. But as a leader, to invite your people in to say, like, hey, do you have a better idea? And maybe you get to elevate someone else, and that elevation isn't you, and that's okay. And that, again, is what leadership is to me. And then that last thing is integrity. That be okay with being honest, and like you said earlier, like being honest to say integrity, and I don't know all the answers, that I made a mistake, that, you know, hey, I blew that. And because all of those kinds of things in crisis get amplified. If you are a leader who can't say sorry, if you are a leader who is always covering their butt, if you are a leader who likes their own ideas more than others' ideas, if you're a leader who would rather be more lazy than be more aggressive, in crisis, all of those things become so evident, and to me, demotivating to the teams you're leading, to the people you're leading. So for me as a person, I am trying to really look at myself and saying, am I willing to do everything it takes? Am I willing to say, it's not my idea, it's their idea, and I'm going to make them famous. I'm going to make them sure that they are better than me. Am I willing to be honest about where I'm at? I don't do all those things perfect every day, but it's something for me of saying, like, I want to learn these lessons now.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Well, thanks for taking time. Thanks for, I know you have a busy schedule, and that's an understatement. So thanks for making this a priority, and thanks for being the one to post this whenever this gets posted.
Right.
So, all right, Graeme, thank you so much.